万引きオレオレ詐欺アニメの違法アップロード
Wouldn't know anything about that last one. But yeah, for our next bi-weekly series, we'll be taking a look at Robot Girls Z, just as a quick and fun little series to cover as we head into the new year. We'll at least try to cover the original 3 ONAs that were released on Toei's YouTube channel, as well as some extra episodes that were released elsewhere. We might save the second season plus for another day, but we'll see how things work out. And if you do want a more proper explanation about what the show is all about, well, you can go check out our intro video that we did, oh wow, that long ago. But still, to give you an idea of what this show is for this particular review, well, the opening and its lyrics actually do a good job for us. It introduced the setting of the show in the Nerima district of Tokyo, which, along with the Toei Museum, also had the town of Photon where our heroines, the Robot Girls Z, resided. They fought evil as magical girls who became personified versions of a bunch of toy animation-produced super robots. So basically it's like a robot-themed Precure series, though sorry to y'all, this along with the dinosaurs and ninjas will never actually be a part of the franchise, as right now they're focusing on the idols. Anyway, we won't dive too much into this opening, as it mostly just shows off characters who we'll just see in the series later. Though do take note of the destruction our heroines were leaving behind, which will be a bit of a running theme in this series, and also do enjoy this little earworm that's never going to leave your head. The first segment of the series opened with the RGZ handing out flyers for the Photon lab they worked at. They want to encourage everyone to invest in Photon, aka solar energy, which, yeah, as we know, still has a few kinks to work out. Thus, Shiro Kabuto here was kind of right to just shrug them off. Yeah, this series is going to have a bunch of cameos of characters from the Super Robot anime that they were referencing. In this case, Shiro originated from Mazinger Z, and thus rather appropriately dissed the personification of the titular mech of his show, Zechan. And this resulted in some pretty effective introductions for our main trio. Zechan was the short-tempered, hot-headed leader of the group, Great-chan, who is based on the Great Mazinger.
Yo, what you need, Zillow? Check it out, I got rocket firing hands, I got rockets for your shoulders and legs, man, my shit is...
Was a snarky little brat. And Grenda, who was based on the Grendizer, that actually kind of voices a girl's name, was a sadist. Makes you wonder if she's pen pals with her to someone. FYI, that's not me putting out the VA intros like I usually do. That's this show doing my job for me, which I do appreciate. It makes pointing out the Precure in the show a little easier. Anyway, the three were waiting on some part-timers who were supposed to be helping them pass out flyers. They eventually arrived and introduced themselves in some unique ways that rightfully made the RGZ a little suspicious. In particular, the person who was leading them. And they're already debating about this on X. Okay, to be fair, this character was based on a Mazinger Z villain, Baron Ashura, who does use they-them pronouns, though not because they're non-binary, but rather because they're literally two people glued together. And yes, it is exactly as weird and messed up as all that sounds. However, this version of the character was a little different. This new Precure crossover movie is taking a lot more risk. Yeah, this Baron was 100% female, and only really imitated the appearance of the original by giving herself 2 different haircuts, and as we'd see in a future episode, seemed to use foundation to pull off a slightly less racist Rowdy Piper at WrestleMania 6. Then again, even this seems to be racist this day, so who really knows? Also, they didn't provide a credit for her, so I'll do it, and hey look, the true queen of the toy magical girls. But yeah, since she was the stand-in for a major antagonist of the original Mazinger Z, it would go to figure that all 3 of these girls would be the supposed villains of the show, the Underground Empire. The younger subordinates were Garda K7 and Douglas M2, who were the Mazinger Z's first 2 monsters of the week from the original anime, and subsequently the most prominent grunts of the Empire, appearing in multiple incarnations of this franchise, including this show. Then, while Garda just kind of took some straightforward cues from her original evil mech counterpart, I do like how Douglas interpreted the twin heads as a couple of sock puppets. So just keep that in mind for what's about to come up, as after threatening to steal their lab's precious solar energy, the RGZ went through their requisite magical girl transformations by putting on their transformation hats that were rather cleverly the cockpits of the original mechs, and just went to town on these poor girls, as well as the town itself. Hey look, someone's trying to ship the creators of the Precure and Super Sentai franchises. Does that kind of distract from the lowly bullying? Sadism aside, I do really like the fights in this series, as not only does every hit feel like it has a good amount of impact to it, that really gets across the power and, yes, the pain that these girls could inflict, but I also like how there's these little frames here and there where you can see some rather dynamic poses, or some comedic bits like Garda just being choked the hell out. I like little details like this, as it does remind me of the works of Yu Yoshiyama, even though I don't think she worked on this series. It's also worth mentioning here that there was also a zeroth pilot episode to this series that followed a similar plot in which the Empire girls caused chaos, in that episode's case, dying and dashing, only to be stopped by the RGZ, and even using some of these same animations. It was basically a simpler version of this segment, with not as effective introductions as this one, so I think we'll just stick with mentioning it here. Anyway, the Underground Empire decided to retreat after soundly getting their asses handed to them, but Zetchan wasn't gonna let them off that easily. Now you see, girl, this is why you first have to cast Bullseye if your accuracy is low. With that, the RGZ saved the day the same way SpongeBob and Patrick do it, but fortunately, the Empire escaped by train, ending the first segment of this episode. This continued right into the next episode, with Garda getting pissy over their loss, while Doubless became a hikikomori. Welcome to society, kid. However, they didn't have time to think about that, as Dr. Hell, the main antagonist of Mazinger Z, was calling in. And yeah, in spite of having a different VA than usual, freaking Broly here, he did seem to be the one character of the show who was accurate to the original and not a glorified anime waifu. Which he kind of is, but more on that later time. For now though, much like his proper universe counterpart, he was creating, or rather hiring, a bunch of mechanical beast girls who, like Garda and Doubless, were monsters of the week, and even went in the order of when they originally appeared in the anime. And each of them pretty much got one-shotted. Jeez, the latest Katamari Damacy is a lot more depressing than I remember. Probably the most entertaining one was Kingdom X10, who, interestingly enough, was more based on the manga version of the mech rather than the anime, which actually had a rather useful ability to make projections of itself. Meanwhile, its manga skill was that it could use people as hostages, and considering this version was just a regular sized girl, she had to use some different meat shields. Still, the segment, through all of its depression and sudokuing, managed to end wholesomely enough with Baron Ashura acting as best mommy to her team, as most Aya Hisakawa characters tend to be. The final segment of this episode featured the RGZ believing that they'd be able to enjoy a fun day at the beach, only to realize that they were actually being sent on a tuna boat, which for the Japanese was like the equivalent of coal mining, in that it's a high-risk but high-paying job. In their case, they needed a little money to fix up the town after the events of the first segment that they caused. Still, at least it wasn't all bad. Sir! Yes, sir! Also, may I humbly request that you step on me, sir? The saying also gave them a good excuse to bring in a few aquatic-themed mechanical beast girls, most notably Glossom X2. So, this is what would have happened to Makoto if she actually embraced all the memes. But yeah, the Empire's evil plan this time was to cut off the supply chain between the tuna boats and the convenience stores to prevent them from being able to produce tuna mayo rice balls, resulting in the downfall of the Japanese economy, which, on top of there being a lot of other boats out on the seas, y'all are also kind of late on the whole ruining the economy thing. Regardless, much like the robots they were based on, the RGZ were at a significant disadvantage in the water, and the Valley Girl Mako P fought them the same way as her original, but a little more erotically. Well, I think we also found Magia Azure's spirit animal. Fortunately, they were saved by the Damimami captain, and were able to send the Empire blasting off again. With that, this segment and this first episode ended with the Empire again retreating, whilst also forgetting one of their own in some seahorse girl. Jeez, Toei Animation really has it out for those seahorses. I wonder why. Well, anyway, this first ONA was a blast. Since this review is already running a little long, we'll keep the closing thoughts short and just to this part. Not that there's much to say anyway, other than that this show is hilarious with both its own brand of very aggressive slapstick comedy, whilst also poking fun at the tropes of the studio's own super robot anime of the past. They make a lot of clever references with the abilities, or lack thereof, from the mechanical Beast Girls, and especially in the designs of these characters. We already talked about Douglas's hand puppets, but I especially like Baron Ashura's design, with even her swimsuit cleverly being divided between a sexy red bikini and a masculine, yet gender-neutral, one half-piece suit. The character itself, I'll say right now, is my personal favorite thanks to being both hilarious, but also a great motherly figure to her team of screw-ups and goofballs. All that combined with some at times really stellar animation that I really wish I could more properly credit, and you end up with one of the most energized pieces of toy animation in a while. We've got at least 3 more videos worth of fun to be had with these girls of mass destruction, so we'll see if they truly become gods or devils, though I'm kind of more betting towards the latter. Thank you for watching, and maybe you can avoid being like Shiro and check out some of our other videos on this channel. We'll keep making these sorts of videos into 2025, as well as new series that are coming up in the next season too. So, look forward to all of that. Until then though, for now my friends, and yeah, sure figured this Photon energy stuff wouldn't work out. Well, back to the fossil fuels.